It turns out our brains are wired for social interaction, and when we don't get it, the brain changes and you lose nerve connections in certain parts of the brain. Hi, it's Health Clips Daily. Let's dive in. Before COVID, this issue was more noticeable in older people who lived alone, cut off from their families, and may be unable to drive. Researchers saw that social isolation hastened age-related cognitive decline and was a risk for developing Alzheimer's disease. But with COVID and the ensuing lockdowns, we now see evidence of these brain changes in younger people. You may experience this as brain fog. Brain fog can be a lot of things, but in general, you can think and process information slower. You can have trouble finding words. You can feel mentally tired and draggy, even though you haven't done anything physically tiring. Why would social isolation do this? Your brain is made up of a network of nerves that connect to one another. The tighter the connections, the better they are able to transmit signals from one nerve to another. Inflammation loosens these connections, as does social isolation. Social isolation affects your social cognition. Social cognition is a set of skills that include being able to read someone's emotional expression, remembering and recognizing someone whose face is familiar to you, interpreting someone's tone of voice, and understanding that others have their own desires, goals, and intentions. This last skill is called theory of mind. Don't know why it's called that. It doesn't quite make sense to me, but that's in case you see that in the articles I referenced. These skills are learned very early on, but we need social interaction to maintain them. So, some aspect of isolation is that you lose these skills because you fall out of practice. But then, there's the brain changes. In one of the studies I referenced, researchers looked at structural MRI data from 32,000 people. That's a large study. The people who were socially isolated showed brain loss in the temporal lobes, frontal lobes, and hippocampus. Your hippocampus is important for emotional memories among other functions. And I've said before that people who are depressed tend to have smaller hippocampi. Now, if you've watched many of my videos, you probably know that I don't like presenting negative information without a silver lining. And here it is. Even if you have brain loss from pandemic isolation, depression, long COVID, or other causes of brain damage, your brain has the capacity to rewire itself and strengthen loose connections. This ability is called neuroplasticity. So, one solution to social isolation is to build up your cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is the mental buffer that lets your brain compensate and function even when you have reduced brain volume. It's like a backup power generator that turns on when the power goes out. And this is a real thing, which explains why some people get into their 80s and are very sharp, while others at 68 struggle to remember important events. The more robust your cognitive reserve, the better you are able to function when exposed to stressors like isolation, environmental toxins, chronic stress, or other damaging factors. Think of cognitive reserve as your brain's resilience. Here are 5 ways to increase it: education, high levels of social interaction, cognitively demanding jobs, activities like crossword puzzles, reading, learning a new language, and playing an instrument. And don't forget regular physical exercise. Exercise stimulates nerve growth, meaning new pathways and connections. I explain how that works in my video on how exercise changes your brain. Building your cognitive reserve is a lifelong process. It's not a one-time effort. You have to keep engaging your mind. Education isn't about going to Harvard or Oxford. It's about committing to learning and processing new information. When I was growing up without the internet, gaining knowledge meant going to school or the library. Now, there's so much information online. You can get an advanced education from researching and reading trusted sources. If you want to learn a new language, there are online courses, and even free YouTube videos teach a lot. You just have to stay curious. This list isn't exhaustive. Diet, sleep, and self-care matter too. But most of these factors are within your control. You might not be able to control how challenging your job is, but you can compensate by exercising before work or doing mental puzzles during breaks or after hours. And by the way, don't mistake a stressful job for a mentally challenging one. Too much work with unrealistic deadlines is stressful, but a challenging job should feel satisfying even when hard. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my video on what exercise does to your brain. Stay proactive. Your brain thanks you. See you next time!